good afternoon, my friends. Welcome to this episode of Blunt Cake. This is episode number 19. Now, if you're familiar with the Blunt Cake series, you'll realize that that number is weird because we got like 22 episodes in it. Well, I made a mistake a number of months back in the ordering of them, and I never had a 19 or a 20, so now I'm making a 19 episode. So here we are. Episode number 19 of the Blunt Cake series. In our adventure in discovering and knowing happiness after codependency. I'm Marshall Bertrand. If you're new to me, that's what I help you accomplish. I help you discover and experience happiness after codependency through 4 steps. Restoring your self-trust, restoring your safety, sanity, and self, and then coming to know, love, and live who you are so you can go on and build a life and relationships that are satisfying to you. So that's what we do today. Before we get started today, I need to share this out to the community real quick. The community is it's your safe haven where you can find support, you can find tools and guidance in your journey back to your own well-being and happiness. Link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. Please make note of the rules link that's also there. Review the rules for the group so you understand what's expected of you when you join. So make sure it's a proper fit for what you need in your life. All right, so I'm going to get that shared out now so we then can jump into today's Blunt Cake episode. So click on the thingies. So with Blunt Cake episodes, it's always important to check in with your capacity first. To check in, are you open and available to hear something that can be very blunt, confronting, challenging to hear? Because I want to make sure you feel safe. I want to make sure you feel available for this because it's useful, it's important. But we need to receive these things when we're ready for it. When our nervous system, our body is a little more relaxed, a little more open, a little more willing to connect with that. So check in with yourself. And if you find a yes, like, yep, I'm open to hearing this. This could be challenging, but I'm willing to hear it. I'm willing to receive it and explore it. And we're ready to go. If not, come back to this training at a later date. And consider trusting this impulse in you so you know where you need to be right now, which is best for you. Okay, so here we go. And I've got to scroll this down so I get the name. Yeah, your need to be needed as you're treating other adults as if they're helpless. That's today's Blunt Cake episode. Kind of straight to the point. So the need to be needed is a common form of trying to be valuable to another individual and trying to be lovable to them. Meaning, my need to be needed means I'm a worthy, valuable, lovable person. So when I was dealing with this aspect of my own codependency, I discovered how needing to be needed cut me off from real, honest relationships with people. Because if I'm being loved for who I am by someone and I am trying to be loved by being needed, I am not accessing or receiving their genuine care, love, and interest in me. Instead, I'm trying to please them. I am trying to do things for them in hopes that they'll need me so that they'll keep me around. I'm ignoring the real fact of the matter that is, they want me around already. I don't need to earn being kept. They want me around in their life because they like me. They like how I do things. They like my energy, like my personality, my beingness. And when we're stuck in this need to be needed role, trying to get value and trying to be kept by someone else, we're going to miss out on this. It's a very serious blind spot that this develops. Second thing with needing to be needed is its origin comes from figuring out very early on in our life that we could please people and they'll keep us around because they'll tell us things like this. Like, you go out and you do a thing for them, like, I am so grateful you did that for me. Only you could do that. They give you praise. They give you attention for it. They give you rewards for it. Sometimes they'll even say, like, I'm so grateful that you do this for me, or I I need you to do it for me. You're the only one that could do it for me. I got that a lot growing up. That's a grandiose love bomb statement, by the way, guys, because it's factually bullshit, to just put a swear out there, that only you could do it. No, other people can too. See, when we have been neglected in the areas of being seen, valued, and loved for who we are, a tension that comes in through what we do and how that doing impacts the other person convinces us that our value is transactional. We need to earn our worth. We need to prove it. And we become convinced that if someone needs us, they won't leave us. That's the real crux to this needing to be needed experience. So we believe in a fantasy that says if they need us, they won't leave us. It's a way to protect against abandonment and rejection. Now, healing this requires us to retrieve our value and to become resourced, and resourced means experienced in being valued by other people for who we are. And that is a curve. Just to be blunt on that one, it's a curve. It takes work, it takes time, it takes experience. It takes a leap of courage and curiosity in ourselves to make that journey. So if you're wrestling with this and you're like, wow, that's big, Marshall. Yeah, it is. It's a biggie. And it's completely okay that it is. It's okay. I usually start my clients and students off with building connection and community, and building connection with community in real life and online. And I provide an online and online community, which I've already mentioned, with the links above on Facebook, below on YouTube, and on my front page on my website if you're listening via podcast. But there's also the other aspect of community I provide with my courses, which is called Live Mentoring Hours, where you and other students and me, we get together and we discuss your experiences. We bring care and love into that experience and into that space, and we're there for you. So that's another way we do that. Then you can build that with adding a therapist into your world, where you can be seen and valued and understood for who you are. And then in real life support groups, and then friendships start to help us warm up to what life is like beyond being needed to be needed. Because that isn't love, my friends. That's a trap. It's a big trap. Now, the third aspect of needing to be needed, which is really the focus of today's blunt cake, is this element. When I believed that I needed to be needed, I needed the other person to be incapable of taking care of themselves, of being happy, of doing their own work. They needed me to make that happen for them. So in my mind, I had to take them out of their adulthood and infantilize them. I had to strip them of their own accountability, their own power, their own sovereignty. I had to ignore their person, and then, assume that they needed me that way. That's a very dangerous thing to do. It's a fantasy. And it's also very disconnected from the reality that adults are capable and they can take care of themselves. Now, put a little pin on that. Sometimes we have disabilities and things that inhibit our power, our capability to do certain things for ourselves. This is where we need assistance in accomplishing those things. That's valid and real. That's different than being needed to be needed. Okay? That's also different than infantilizing someone, because it's contextually and rationally based. It's based on the situation the persons we're dealing with. Because it's like, okay, well, if this individual doesn't want to do this for themselves, then I don't need to do anything for it either. It's like capable individuals have the resource, they have the power, they have the capability to solve their problems and do the things they need to for themselves. People who aren't able to do that because of a disability or things like that come from a very different spectrum. Still, we don't need them to need us in order to be valuable or to be kept. What we need to do is respect what they need, respect our capacity to contribute to it, and help them build. And then if we ask them to, if this is something we want to do, is build resource so that they have multiple ways of getting those needs met so that everyone's supported and contributed to in that dynamic. Generally, what happens in toxic relationships is sometimes the partner will have, sometimes it's called weaponized incompetence, weaponized, there's another term. It'll pop up. But weaponized incompetence, meaning the individual claims that they can't possibly handle this thing, deal with this thing, work it out, take responsibility for it. They are perpetually being acted upon in their mind. They're the victim. And in reality, they are receiving the consequences of their choices. They're dealing with the impacts of those choices and actions they've taken. And if we are in this position of needing to be needed, we're going to run in there and rescue them. We're going to protect them and shield them from this impact they're enduring, which effectually enables them to continue that cycle. See, we aren't doing them any good by solving problems for them. It does no good to get in the way of a consequence that they inherit with their choices and actions. Those consequences are lessons they need to learn. And our lesson in this is to step out and respect their adulthood. And then begin working on being, releasing the need to be needed and actually dealing with the underlying pain of abandonment, of rejection, the fears of being isolated and alone and unwanted, and beginning to heal our relationship to our own intrinsic value and worth. It's essential to this. Because when we really embody our innate value, our natural completeness, things start to click into view real quick, because it's like, they don't need me. This is theirs to solve. Yep, I'm making a choice, and they're going to have to live with that, and that's okay, because they're an adult. They're not a helpless child. They do not need us to rescue them. Okay? What they need is to deal with what's going on in their lives, take responsibility for their choices and actions, deal with the consequences, and handle it, because that's what adults do. So, got some comments here. I'll touch on those real quick. So, Shani asks, what if the opposite is true and it really bothers you to be needed at times? But this depends on the context. So, like, in me and my role of being a parent, sometimes my children need me. What do they need me for? Comfort, guidance, support, presence. That's really rational and normal. In a healthy relationship, sometimes I need my girlfriend. Sometimes she needs me. That's normal if it's coming about, hey, I need some time, I need some presence, I need some affection, or I need some care, some play, natural needs. But if people were coming to me and going, I need you to solve this problem for me. No. That's not reasonable. I'm not going to solve your problem for you. That's yours. Oh, can you tell me if I'm a worthy person or not? I can't do that for you. That's yours. I can say I see you as a worthy person, but ultimately that individual has to define it for themselves. So the responsibility here is that the person acknowledges that this is their thing and that they need to manage it. I'm not responsible. I have no responsibility towards someone else's value or someone else's consequences they're receiving from their own choices and actions. I can empathize with the impact and say, yeah, that's just an awful thing that's going on. What are you going to do about it? So that's healthy helping, because it's boundaried. I'm not solving the problem for them. It's still in their yard. So really important to understand that. So if someone's been needing us, it really depends on the context and what they're asking for, and whether or not you want to give it and whether or not you have capacity to give it. Because it's going to come down to those questions. Is this something I want to give? Is this something I have capacity to give? And does contributing to this add to my well-being and happiness? Those three questions will assist you in guiding you in responding to that effectively. All right, so the second comment comes from Rachel. She says, this feels exactly like what happened to me in relationships, stripped of my sovereignty and sense of adulthood. My own capacity to take care of myself was like I turned into a 2-year-old. And it was so world, especially after being overly independent person for so much of my life, who figured out life for herself for so long. Yeah. we become, somebody comes in and controls us and consumes us that way, and we let them take this kind of power over us, we become very stuck in their world. We become codependent on them. We're not independent. We're not interdependent. We're enmeshed in it. And we're reliant on them for things that we can and do have power to take care of ourselves. So we need to be real mindful about that. In healthy relationship, no one's giving up their capability of taking care of themselves. What they're doing is they're building agreements around how they share resources to care for each other and their respective individual commitments, their mutual commitments, and anybody else that's involved in that dynamic. Yep. Yeah. There's no good. It's no good to get in the way of the consequence of their choice in action. Absolutely. It's critical for that. So very, very important to become connected with the reality that we need to let people deal with their consequences. The reason why is we're respecting their adulthood. We're respecting their capability. We're respecting their maturity and their ability to grow. Because in this need to be needed, we believe they can't do it. At some level, a lot of times we're like, they can't do it. Or they need me in order to do it. And this is where we get a sense of value and importance and priority in their world. And that is not a true thing. They don't need us in order to be able to do it. They need to work out what's going on in their world and resource themselves so that they can be a healthy, independent adult. The same thing we've got to do with ourselves, because our neediness is a projection of our sense of powerlessness and helplessness in our own world, in our own needs. And we have to come into contact with that. Like, this is mine. My needs, I don't know how to get them met right now, and that's really scary. These are my big feelings. These are my big experiences, and I need to care for that right now. And I got to learn how to do that. Even if I don't know how to do it right now, it's time to learn. This is how we start resourcing ourselves, is by taking ownership of the thing and saying, I'm going to learn how to do this. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to learn how. I'm getting out of the way of them learning how to take care of themselves. Because the more we respect sovereignty, our personal sovereignty and theirs, the more we see that getting in their way is a violation of boundary. Our boundary, their boundary. The more we respect the intrinsic capability of a person to grow and learn, whether or not they choose to or not in their experiences, we respect that capability, the more we're free of trying to enable them, control them, fix them, and the more we are in contact with caring for ourselves, nurturing ourselves, and growing ourselves and our own capability. So it's a big deal right there. So Brittany says, hearing that person say outright they need you makes it so hard. Yeah, that's bait, and that's inappropriate. And there is some context around this too, because in a healthy relationship, sometimes we'll say, I need you right now. Like in my experience, I was going through some painful things. I needed the presence of my girlfriend at that point. I just need you right now while I face this, while I navigate this. That's a healthy request. It's boundaried. It's reasonable. She's not managing anything. I've just got someone in my corner in that moment supporting me through that. But if someone's facing it and they think, I need you, I can't live without you, I'm going to die, my whole world's going to blow up, that's inappropriate. That's an enmeshment. This is a signal that the person has not resourced themselves, has not matured into their own adulthood and their own person. They've got a challenging but essential journey in front of them to grow up and become their own adult self. Because it's premised on the foundational principle that we are all 100% responsible for our needs, wants, our personal identity, and our growth. Nobody else can do that work for us. That is our personal work, and we need to respect that. Respect it for ourselves, then we're automatically respecting it for them. And so this is why we are not responsible for helping them grow up. They are responsible for growing up. That is their work. And they don't need you in order to accomplish that. What they need is effective resources, accountability, ownership, taking responsibility for themselves. Speaking as someone who was once one of those people who needed someone else, or I might die, or I don't know who I will be, or I will collapse, or blah, blah, blah. I can't do it without you. No, I could. I just had to deal with my own trauma around being abandoned by my parents in things that I didn't have resource to manage, and I wasn't raised in a way to become resourced. So, like for instance, ex-girlfriends, my ex-wife, other friends, they were never responsible for those things because that's not the role of those relationships. I was an adult at that point. Hopefully I still am, right? I had to become responsible for those things. And so when I finally did take that responsibility, my life became more and more empowered. It's a very difficult process, but it's essential for us in growing up and becoming more capable of being a healthy adult that can produce things in their lives that they want and do it responsibly. So we are not responsible for caretaking them and helping them grow up. They are. So, yeah. And we care about them. There's a difference for caring for someone and caring about someone. Caring for someone is still this, oh, you need me. I need to comfort you and help you through the thingy that you created with your choices and actions, and now you're acting like a victim. No. It's more like caring about someone says, yeah, I get it. This is really hard. This is a hard consequence of those choices and actions. It really just sucks, huh? What are you going to do with that? What have you learned from it? That's caring about someone. So really important to understand that. Now, caring for someone that is in a legitimate, like they've lost someone, they lost their job, something was imposed upon them that's affected their life. Like, yeah, that really sucks. I'm here for you. I'm here to listen. I'm here to be with you. And I'll support you in whatever choices and actions you take here that you feel are best for you right now, as long as you're not hurting yourself or whatever. That's caring about someone as well. That's healthy mutual support, because you're not solving the problem for them. You're not doing something that they can do for themselves, and you're not doing something for them that they refuse to do for themselves, which is a really important thing there. So remember, we're talking about people who have weaponized incompetence. I can't do that thing. I couldn't learn how to do it. I don't want to. My past was awful, so why should I have to do it now? Well, guess what? We all get to grow up. This is such a blunt cake. So take time with it. Because I went through a lot of trauma myself. Sexual abuse as a young child, extensive physical abuse, emotional abuse, tragedy with my mother's death, having to deal with a stepmother, which borderline rapid cycle or a bipolar rapid cycle combined with borderline tendencies made a very erratic childhood, and then a schizophrenic father. And I grew up in a culture that taught us to hate ourselves, to reject ourselves, and to void ourselves in order to become perfect and ideal and worthy. Well, I've been through a lot, but none of that justifies me not taking responsibility for my choices and actions, and none of that justifies me demanding someone else take care of me. I'm not a child. I'm an adult, and it's time to deal. That's one of the most fundamental things we all need to embrace. I'm an adult, it's time to deal. They're an adult, it's time that they're an adult, I'm getting out of the way of what they do with what they respond to in their life. Eventually they'll deal or they won't. But it's not my job, not my responsibility. 100% theirs. So needing to be needed is a response to being invalidated, to being neglected, to being abused, and being neglected and being seen, valued, and loved for who you are. And then being praised and appreciated for taking responsibility and managing and regulating the responsibilities or someone else's responsibilities in their yard. Breaking free of needing to be needed means we come to value ourselves, cultivate connection with our innate value, and cultivate connection with being valued by others for who we are in healthy, boundaried relationships. It is a journey. It's a big one. The work I do is geared around completely shaping that and helping you accomplish that, because we bring you back to self-trust, and we bring you back to safety, sanity, and self, and then connect you back with who you are by tuning you into your value, your voice, and your vision, and helping you create relationships that thrive from that premise. So as a heads up, we've just got a few days left before the 5-day challenge starts. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube, and on my front page of my website at freetheself.com. It's free to attend the live classes. If you want the recordings, they're $97. You can get those. As well as we start the self-trust course on the 17th. Enrollment starts the 10th of January and will close the 16th. So this is your chance to get in on the live version of that course. So be watchful here on Facebook, on YouTube, my email. I'll be sending all sorts of notices out for that. So my friends, this is a blunt one, but our job here is to respect the adulthood other people have, respect the capability they have to learn, to grow, and to solve their own problems, especially the problems they create for themselves with their choices and actions. And it's our responsibility to care for them in the proper way by you can empathize and sympathize with the impact they're going through, while leaving completely to them the choices and actions they take to solve their problem, because that is never, ever our responsibility. That is always theirs, and vice versa. We deserve care. We deserve support, to be understood, to be valued, and to be respected that, hey, I can solve this. And they support me in discovering the solution to this problem. Now, if I would like some insight or guidance from a person, I can ask about that. I can ask them for that, but they are never responsible for what I ultimately choose and do. I am. And that's how we keep this healthy. So that's the work, my friends, and that is today's Blunt Cake episode. So go gently with yourselves in this. And check on the comments here real quick. Shani says, weaponized incompetence. Is that like them expecting us to fix their issues? Yeah, it is. We can't fix their depression. We can't be the reason they keep on living. It's also used as an excuse to be unable to show up, to help at home and things like that. Yep, absolutely. Shows up in both elements that way. It's a very common thing with people with narcissistic tendencies, people who are immature emotionally, don't want to grow up and be the adult that they are. So, yeah, it's something that's a serious red flag, and if it shows up in relationships I end the relationship, because I'll never have a mature relationship with that person because I haven't grown up. So, yeah, it's one of my personal deal breakers is if there's weaponized incompetence, I'm out. So, see ya. Time to grow. So, there you go, my friends. Go gently with yourself with this information. Watch out for that need to be needed. Pivot, switch towards loving and valuing yourself, and then learning to recognize connection that's based on being valued, seen, and loved for who you are. So there you go, my friends. Go gently with yourself, and I will see you in our next episode. Bye-bye, guys.